All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, 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 morning. Morning, morning, everybody.
Good. There we go. We got a band. Look at this.
Starting a band, baby.
I know.
Starting a
One
band.
microphone in there. It looks like you're having to reach. Lebang is here. She called me yesterday. She's like, 3 out of the 5 are snot nosed, and I got to stay. I got to stay home and sort these little critters out. And you did. I mean,
did.
Remarkably, you didn't even need to take any of them to the doctor. It's just,
That was just God saying, you know what? You've had a crappy
Oh, hang on. Sorry.
coming
Yeah.
over. Zami. Yeah, it was just tough, man. And the worst thing about these kids with snot is that they don't have the ability to go to the bathroom, get tissue, and blow their nose. They just do this. Hand across the face.
Yeah.
So when it dries up
exactly.
in like 15 seconds, the bottom half of the face is just filled with all this white artistry
God.
of
Oh,
which
God.
I need to now just it was so much.
What did I never thought he was funny, but Bill Cosby got this one right. He's like, when your children don't blow the nose and they wipe the snot all over the nose, it looks like a glazed donut monster.
It does.
And he was right about that.
Absolutely. No, he really was. But there's this nice cute little contraption
Mhm.
where you pretty much suck the snot out. It's like a dude.
I don't want to hear about this first thing on a Tuesday morning.
So you grab it, right? And then you stick it up the child's nose, you
Oh.
squeeze it, and it just
Oh.
pulls that glazed
Oh, my
donut,
God.
the caramel, everything just comes
can't-
out and it goes.
And I'm just done with my coffee. I'm finished with my coffee for the morning.
It's a nightmare.
Oh.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Jesus.
Story of my life. Story of my life.
So MM says you obviously both got some last night. I didn't.
I wish.
But I love the way that whenever anyone's having a good day, it must be because they had oodles of sex.
Right? That's like the go-to. Like, oh, you look so overjoyed. It must be all that ass you got last night. Nope.
Now,
No ass.
MM, I'm guessing you didn't get any.
Hey, Gareth, come on. We can't assume.
Yeah. Lucky seems to think it's impressive that we're in the studio for the second day today.
I'm impressed by
Well,
you.
Listen, I got out of bed this morning, God knows, like 4:30 or whatever.
Mm.
And I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, ugh. Meh.
Meh.
Just meh. But by the time I get here, I'm fine. So
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
who in the world? I mean, what is this? Some Disney princess who wakes up and goes, "Yay, tweet, 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 tweet," with the birds and everything's great, and I feel pretty. I'm so pretty. No one in the world wakes up feeling that way at 4:30.
Days
No way.
just aren't the same. There's days when you can feel like that and you're like, motivated. I got this. Today's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And then there's days when you're like, I don't feel great, but that's okay. I need to get up
Yeah.
anyway.
And then you get on with it, and believe it or not, your day somehow. The worst part is not the waking up.
Exactly.
Or sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is, yeah. But what's helpful is like knowing that you're going to be around some really cool people. Like I know I psych myself up like that. I'm going to the office. I'm going to go do what I love. I'm going to hang out with some really cool people that are going to challenge my creativity.
Yeah.
Like I'm always like, oh, this is going to be dope.
This helps. I mean, like if you work with people that you enjoy working with.
Sure.
And listen, let's be honest here. Nobody in the world gets to handpick the people they work with. Otherwise, it would be your friends, not your work.
And you get
nothing done.
Exactly.
Right? We did this training session on Friday, which I think was really interesting.
So nice.
And we kind of went around the room and, kind of got everything aligned. And we've got a small team, but there's some really, really brilliant people in this team. I was boasting about all of them yesterday. I was talking to someone around lunchtime. And if you know that the people you work with have like the same goal in mind.
Yeah.
Not to make too much of a noise about this, because I know there's a lot of corporate shit going on at the moment, which is actually just, it's people papering over the cracks, and they're pretending like they're one big family. I mean, I think if you've got a team that's bigger than 20 people, it's very hard to
manage,
to wield. Yeah. And there's that Dunbar's number, which we've spoken about before on the show, which is like 240. That's the maximum number of connections you can have in your life at one time.
Damn.
So if you put your family in there,
Sure, that's minus.
yours, you're already in the negative.
But wait, what kind of connections? Because there's like, like real life connections, and there's like, oh, I see you every day on Facebook, or oh, I see your life on Instagram.
No.
So it's just
No,
like real bonds.
yeah.
250 is a lot. That's a lot.
So all right, here's the actual definition, because I'm tired of like pulling this stuff out of my backside, and then people come at me like 5 weeks later and they're, you said. All right, so it's a suggestive cognitive limit to the number of people with whom one can have stable social relationships.
Sure.
Relationships in which an individual knows who each person is and how each person relates to every other person.
Oh.
This number was proposed in the 1990s by anthropologist Robin Dunbar. So it's actually much lower than 240. It's 150 according to him.
Ooh, 150. That's a lot of people. I don't even have 3 friends. I don't even know that many people.
No, I mean, look, they're not all friends. This is important from a definitional point of view. So
Sure.
These would include people you don't have to think, oh, who is that again?
Okay.
These are people who you're interacting with fairly regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying you take family and put them in there. That's already
sure
maybe 10, 20 people.
10, 20 out, yeah.
Us, right?
Then that leaves you with, okay.
Then you've got close friends. That probably takes up another maybe 10. You only got the 2.
I only got the 2.
Only the 2. But I mean, I kind of envy you because it's tidy, right?
It makes life so much simpler.
So when you think of something really hilarious, or you want to make someone feel good, it's only 2 people you really have outside of your family.
Outside of my family, it's 2 people. But outside of those 2, then there's like the meh, like, you kind of make the cut, but not really.
So this is where we get to that. I like to say that there are close friends, then there are friends, and then there are acquaintances.
Acquaintances, correct.
So the friends are the ones that when you see them, you're genuinely happy to see them.
Sure, yeah.
And you love their company. But if you don't see them for like 3 weeks,
life goes on.
You're not tearing your hair out going, oh, they've abandoned me, and oh, I'm alone, so alone.
Yeah.
Not that I believe that that's ever healthy for anyone in any situation. But let's just say that the friends are the ones who, if they call you up or they send you a text message or something, you're like, yay.
Yeah, you're like, this is nice.
I'm glad that person's in my life.
Yeah.
And then you get the acquaintances who you don't think about at all until you see them.
Sure.
And you could bump into each other, or you might arrange to see each other, or maybe it's like those people who are just on the outside of the business connections.
Sure.
Maybe it's friends or they're acquaintances because your kids and their kids go to school together.
Yeah,
whatever.
Okay, I get it.
So total maximum number, I far exceeded it. I said 240. It's 150.
Still a lot, Gareth.
It's a shitload.
It's a load.
But then go to your contacts on your phone.
Okay, no, now it's getting personal.
No, go to your phone, phone contact app, right? And then go to the bottom. I've got 4,263 contacts.
You are Gareth Cliff. I expect you to have that. I've got 3,795.
Okay, it's also it's a fortune.
It's a lot.
You're not that far behind me. You're like 200-300 people. Okay, so yesterday, because my contacts are linked to my diary, so it puts people's birthdays on. So every day they're like 4 or 5 birthdays. This is also one of my tricks to keep in touch with people.
Sure.
So I always message people on their birthdays.
Oh, that's so kind.
And then if I see that it's been 3 years of you not acknowledging it, whether it's on Facebook, because that's the easiest for birthdays, because people list their birthdays.
Sure.
Or if it's in my contacts and I actually have you in as a birthday list, then obviously you're going to reply to that because it's WhatsApp or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a great way of just me keeping those connections going, because
you never know.
I'm not very good at like socializing and small talk and that sort of stuff. So it's a way for me to just keep in touch.
I get
However, yesterday I saw Cindy Siwe, who was a friend of mine. She in fact had a show here on Cliff Central for a while.
Yeah.
And she died like a couple of years ago. She died during COVID, and it took look, I'm not the most emotional guy in the world, but I it felt really bad deleting her because she's not around anymore. There's no point her birthday coming up. It would have been this week. And when I saw her birthdays coming up, I'm like, oh, I suppose I got to delete her. And it just feels horrible when you delete someone.
That's
Am I right?
Yeah, that's not
For you,
pleasant.
it's
No.
different for everybody. But
I've never had to like sit and physically delete someone. I just kind of like naturally like their memory has to kind of just leave, and I know that this person's no longer there. But as far as deleting their contacts, blah blah blah, that's an exercise that just makes it so real. And that's why like Facebook had that whole thing of if you pass away, you can choose somebody to sort of take
a legacy contact.
A legacy contact so that they can
like everybody's got this big legacy. Like a lot of people are just
going about their tiny little lives. But in their tiny little lives, there's people that, you know, care and love them, etc., etc. But that's why those kinds of things help, because losing someone and then seeing them on social media, tweeting and sharing stuff, it's like, stop. You know, this person's obviously not there. It's only in like certain cases where it kind of makes sense. I remember when Dr. Cindy passed away a couple of years ago.
That's Dr. Cindy Sue.
We're talking about the same person. Everybody changed their profile pic to her picture, and it was almost like I couldn't be online because I just kept seeing her picture everywhere.
It's her birthday this week.
Oh man!
Yeah, she was at varsity with me.
Really?
So I had known
she was
her
at
for
Tux.
a very long time.
She was at Tux.
She was on campus radio with me.
Yes.
And I mean, we knew each other well. I met her before she got married.
Oh man!
Yeah.
So that was a tough one.
So when her birthday came up, I was like,
man.
Okay. So a couple of interesting things in the comments section. I mean, Hardy Dave says 250 max, some should unsubscribe. But this does raise the question of, you know, these people who are chasing likes and subscribers. And I mean, we're obviously a media business, but it would stand to reason that anything over 150 subscribers is pretty much a waste of your time, because you're not going to know any of the people beyond 150.
Exactly.
So it is worth considering that. Like if you post some interesting stuff on the internet, which is an ongoing thing that people are always thinking about, right? People, whether they admit it or not, they're always thinking about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like how if you are the kind of person who posts, because there are those people who post nothing. If you are and you get 150, just like, cool, count that. Say that is the maximum number of actual connections I could have.
You're doing a thing
with this content. Let me just be grateful for that and move on.
Yeah.
Anything over 150, bonus.
But obviously the more numbers in this media game, the better, you know? Like
sure.
The more people you reach, and I put that in inverted commas because like the truth is numbers these days can be bought, particularly online. So what influence is actually happening if you're influencing a bunch of bots?
Right. And that's why I just don't believe most of these people who are like, oh, we've got 4.5 million people. I don't believe you.
Yeah,
I don't believe you. I've been in media for 25 years, and I can promise you now that there's no way you know that for a fact.
There's this girl who is a huge TikTok star, and she has over 1 million followers, and she decided to do a meet and greet. This is in the States last year. So she was like, oh man, all my over 1 million followers, I love you guys so much. I'm going to do a meet and greet. Let's meet at the mall, blah, 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 blah. She rocked up there, and there was absolutely not a single soul that arrived to this meet and greet. And that should tell you something. The real influence isn't happening online. It's not happening to the over 1 million people. It's us, the little guys who have 130 something followers. That's us. We're actually speaking to real people and probably imparting some real shit into their lives versus come and meet and greet me, you know?
Yeah.
It should tell you something.
Yeah. And people get all like obsessed by these numbers. I don't think it's healthy.
It's not real.
This is an interesting throwback. It's a Tuesday, not a Thursday, but today is 3 years since lockdown started.
Damn.
Ish, where did the time go? Well, yeah, if you consider that this was the day where 3 years ago that our entire world got thrown into disarray.
Wow.
Do you remember?
Do I? It was horrible.
And there's still some people who wish that it was like that, I suppose.
I mean, it depends on how your lockdown went. You know, for a lot of people, it just kind of showed them real life. Do you know how many people got divorced?
Do you know how many people aren't around anymore?
Do you know how many people aren't around? It was a very like life-shifting moment for us. I can't believe it's been 3 years. But at the same time, I can, because these past 3 years have kind of just been one big mush.
It has.
2020, 2021,
I can't-
2022. I can't tell you what year.
No, and if you point to anything that happened during those 3 years, I don't know when exactly it occurred.
No.
It could have been in May 2020, or it could have been in October last year. I
Same
have
thing.
no idea.
Exactly. That's like the one thing about this time of life is that it's all just one long blech. It's a big meh.
I remember
time.
we were trying to be very optimistic about it, because I thought, well, we're a digital media business, and we can connect with our audience, and we can connect with our clients, and we can connect with all our peeps any way we like.
Sure.
And we were doing that. And I remember us doing a series of interviews with some really prominent people, just asking them how they're coping with things, what their plans are, what are they going to do to keep themselves from spiraling out of control. And, there was some useful information there. And I remember one of the interviews was with Peter Matlare, who, a very prominent South African businessman. He was the CEO of the SABC when I went to work there.
Yeah.
He was at Tiger Brands as their CEO. He was at Vodacom for a long time. I mean, he was really a power player.
Sure.
And Peter Matlare was someone who I always looked up to and thought, this is a guy who's got his shit together. And of course, he died during COVID, which, when I think about the fact that we did that interview and like a couple of months later, the guy was not there anymore. It was like, it was a pretty tough thing to then kind of figure out in your head.
I think, sorry, Gareth. Like, I think a lot of us experienced some trauma around just the sudden loss of so many people. And of course, people are always going, but in that period, it almost felt too close. It was at our doorstep all
just remember
the damn time.
Better delete his contact as well.
Oh my gosh, there's like some mass trauma that I think all of us experienced.
I'm gonna have to delete this.
Oh my gosh,
Jesus.
Gareth.
Thanks for the reminder.
Me?
I mean, what are you going to do? Keep it on there? Shame. I see Neil's comment here. My dad passed away in January. It's really hard to delete his contact.
Can you? How do you that process? Oh man, no.
Tracy says, I'm a digital hoarder. Last year, I got a new phone, and when backing up, my WhatsApp froze. I lost all my WhatsApps, including last messages from friends who are no longer. It broke my heart. But like in some ways, isn't it doing you a favor, allowing you a fresh start?
Probably to just like let it go and just like reimagine your life without that person.
You got to be careful with too much nostalgia. Hey,
it's hard, Gareth. It's hard. Like it's still raw for most of us, right? So just scrolling through your WhatsApp conversations, and that's almost like the first thing one does when you find out that, oh no, Usman Ban has passed away. You go to your WhatsApp, you see what's the last thing they said to me, the last conversation we had. Because in a way, I think that's the human way of almost like remembering them and honoring them, because that's the last way you'll remember them. There'll be no other interaction after that. And it's difficult to let go of that. You're not going to delete a full ever many years of conversations, of chats. Those are the memories. It's like being in a relationship and then breaking up with your partner. You just want to delete all those images. You're not just deleting images. You can't remove those images and those memories from your head. So it's neither here nor there. But I'm sure in the process of grief, there's definitely something to be said about, I'm at the stage where I can let this all go and delete the number and delete the conversations and the pictures, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there's something in there, but to each his own. I mean, we all have our paths.
I'm not the kind of guy who goes back and looks at old photos when I'm lying in bed at night, but occasionally someone will send me a picture and I'll be like, wow, good times.
Or your phone will show you a memory. 6 years ago on this day, you were blah, blah, blah.
I don't even look at those.
Really?
I've disabled them. I don't find that very...
But you like history?
Yeah, but no, this is personal history and it's not that interesting. And also, like I saw a couple of people on Saturday I haven't seen for a while, and it was really cool to see them. But I don't go, oh, well, the time in between was wasted because I didn't see them. Bullshit. You just move on. There's some interesting points being made here. Lebang, that is so not cool. Not even one turned up with over 1 million followers.
It happens.
Sure.
It happens.
Yeah.
This is real life, bro.
Yeah. Tracy says we were in the Kruger Park when the world shut down. Best place to be. We missed out on all the panic, tin food, baking flour, and toilet paper purchases.
Remember the toilet paper purchases where everybody was getting their bunkers filled with Woolies,
how ridiculous,
baked beans, and Woolies tissues.
How ridiculous. Congo Chris says, I mean, listen, this is a bit of nostalgia that just reminds you of like how far we've come in 3 years.
Sure.
Pineapple beer. I became a master brewer, he says. My pineapple beer was so good, people were placing orders. I was making like 20 liters a week. Closest I've come to being a moonshiner.
Look, I do remember lockdown doing one good thing. Suddenly, everybody became an entrepreneur. Suddenly, everybody was selling something. Suddenly, everybody had access to the black market, and people got into hustle mode. You know, it was cool to see that that side of people. That like, oh, do you have a guy? I've got a guy. Follow me this way. Here's the number. Blah 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 blah. People are posting all sorts of things online, like a picture of a table, and then on that table was a bottle of gin, and then in the copy it would say, "Looking for this table in this." Do you remember?
Because they thought our police would actually be able to track you down. Like our police can't even sit the right way around on a toilet, and we're worried about them trying to track you down for gin.
Our police are also selling.
Exactly. I mean, I knew a guy who was actually like buying his straight from the police.
Me too. I had like a couple of cop plugs. No, it was a time to be alive.
Yeah. So, all right, we've got a lot to talk about this morning that hasn't got to do with that, but it's an interesting thing. And we've got to mark these anniversaries. You know, 3 years since that craziness set in. And there's still lots of people who I think owe us an apology over the way that they behaved. You know, all the Karens, the government, that stupid National Coronavirus Command Council with the dumb rules. All the people who thought those rules were a great idea, all those, we love you, Cyril, we support you people. Remember them?
Yeah, no.
Douchebags.
Yeah, no.
I just want to point out again, you people are the big problem in society.
You guys suck.
The rest of us got on with our lives and broke all the rules that we didn't like. Just speaking of things we don't like, you placed an order online and, you know, Ryan was reminding me this morning, Ryan, the producer, said to me, remember I bought that bag? On some site, and there are a lot of these sites, right?
So many now.
I bought a pair of shoes years ago when buying online was still quite new.
Yeah,
and they delivered these totally Fong Kong pieces of shit that have already they came apart like in the box on the way to me, and I thought, oh, you learn. But Ryan bought a bag, and then.
He bought it from one day only. You know that site that gives you those deals for one day?
That's right. Yeah. And then it arrived and it wasn't anything like the bag that he thought he'd ordered.
Yo.
Now you've made a similar purchase. Come on.
I'm so embarrassed. So you know my history with Facebook Market is already sketchy, but I keep going back to the crime scene for whatever reason. Like I still believe in Facebook Market because there are some good people there, but they, I think, are more just trashy people. So next week is Easter, and we're having our first Easter in our new home with all the families or whatever. So we just like tightening up, getting a couple of things. Sure. So I need some lights for my garden just because like it gets so dark at night. So I did a couple of research, you know, went out there, saw some really nice lights. And I was like, you know, these could work. I've got a couple of trees where I can hang this up. So what I ordered versus what I got, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. You're the first people I'm showing this to. I haven't even showed this to my boyfriend.
This is what they showed on the...
Yeah, this is what I was supposedly ordering. I mean, nice.
Those look gorgeous.
Teardroppy
but
type.
They look almost like flasks filled with like champagne.
Exactly.
You know, a little light bit up and looks beautiful.
Va va voom. So I'm stoked. I'm like, man, my garden is gonna be popping. Let me show you what I got. I'm so embarrassed. I haven't even showed this to my boyfriend. I had to, like, when they delivered it yesterday, I had to hide them. What am I going to tell
By the way, what did these cost you?
That's another part of it. They cost me $90. But.
Okay, but that, I mean.
But.
Yeah, all right.
Check this out. Look how small. This is 5 meters of like tiny little. They're not even teardrops. They're
those are such bullshit.
Dog, it's giving Chinatown. And here's the solar panel. So here's the thing.
Oh, wow. So they'll operate on solar.
They'll operate on solar, but this is good for like, do you remember the movie?
Piece of shit.
What's the movie with that little rat? Stuart Little. Yes. This is like Stuart Little type lights for his house.
But it's not anything like what you were advertised.
Exactly. And in the advertisement, they showed the size. They were like 30 centimeters each, blah, 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 blah. The distance between each light. So I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I don't know what I'm going to say when I get home. I'm going to have to make up some lie and be like, oh, they didn't arrive. And then when I'm going to be like, oh, the kids got into them.
Embarrassing.
Look, you get what you pay for. I don't know what I was hoping for. I was just being a cheapskate. And I bought many of these boxes. So if anybody wants these,
wow, how many did you buy?
I bought like 10. Guys, they're so tiny. Ooh.
Well, I mean, okay, so if you bought 10,
yeah,
I reckon you could put those in a tree.
Gareth, one for each tree was the thinking. That I'll wrap one around each tree. It's not going to work.
One tree that can have all
of them. If I had one,
then it could look quite nice. I mean, I'm sorry for you.
I must just stop being.
But it is solar, so you know, hopefully they work. Hopefully they work. But you're embarrassed, and justifiably so.
No, I'm definitely embarrassed. Yeah. It's a lesson for me to just forget about Facebook Market. I keep going back there because there's such good deals. Also, I bought like a little, like tiny little chair.
I was gonna say, like a lot of people. Dogos is saying you paid $90. What did you think? Did you think it might have been too good to be true? Carl says you paid $90. What did you think you were getting?
That's like less money than the Cliff Central Bri. I should have known better. I should have known better.
Dumbassery. Sorry.
No, straight up. I'm not gonna lie. I must just sit in my bed at 1 a.m. and order off Take a Lot like you and get real things.
At least the stuff I bought was what I ordered. You know? But
that's what I'm saying.
Guys, just also please do not fall for, and I know this sounds so obvious to people who these sites that look like if you just Google a certain item, and you end up on some site it just looks even slightly like it's not a brand you would know. Do not waste your money. You know how many people I know who've ordered stuff?
Yeah.
It just never arrives at all.
How do you check if it's credible, though? How do you know if it's real?
I think you got to know the name of the site. If they haven't ever advertised anywhere, they can't be real. So this is where advertising does really work. And if I'm not familiar with a brand name, you better believe that I'm going to stay the hell away from it.
It's tricky.
Once bitten, twice shy.
It's tricky because then you get like sites like Alibaba where you can buy any and everything there. But it's also just like a lot of people selling inside the one site. Yeah. So you tend to rely on people's reviews. I know I'm a huge review person, even just like a restaurant.
But people put up fake reviews.
That's the thing. They get their cousins to put reviews, their friends, their sisters.
These days, there are automated ways of generating like 200 reviews, which are all positive, that a machine does for you, like a bot does for you. With AI, you don't know that it's even humans. That's why I'm saying reviews do not look at reviews.
They're not real anymore.
They're not. And that's the same as with numbers on YouTube or whatever else.
Sure.
Don't look at that shit. It's nonsense. There are bot farms in the Ukraine that are doing this work for people.
I remember there was a time in the music industry when the internet was now, I think it was like maybe a couple of years ago. In fact, just pre-lockdown, where the farms became a real thing.
Yeah.
And there were maybe 500 cell phones lined up in a tiny little basement in someone's house, and you'd pay that person to stream your song. So all of those devices are playing your song over and over and over again. And now there's all this hype because there's all these numbers and the record labels pick you up. It's pretty much just a scam.
It is a scam.
It's a scam.
So Barefoot Blanche says, I ordered a camera lens off Bid or Buy way back and got a packet of stickers.
Not Bid or Buy. Not Bid or Buy. And that's such a good concept. I like the idea of we're bidding, we're bidding on this one item and I get the highest bid. It's mine.
Ricky says 3 months ago, I ordered a book called How to Scam People, and I'm still waiting for that book. All right. Yeah. I've got something to show you here. This is wild. And we don't do too much politics except on a Thursday, but this is amazing. It was on Carte Blanche, which I don't watch anymore. But Ryan found this and decided we needed to see it. So at the risk of like us getting a copyright strike, you've got to see this. So it's Bongani Bingwa interviewing this dude about that guy who was killed with his son.
Oh, yes.
Insolvency guy.
Okay, yeah.
So just watch this, because if this doesn't scare you a little bit, then I don't know what the hell you whether you're even paying attention.
Kluter contacted us last week on Tuesday. He indicated that he was about to finish or proceed with the Section 417 inquiry. Well, his words were he was on the cusp of subpoenaing various prominent politicians to come and testify at that inquiry.
Was he able to indicate to you and Tessie who those prominent people were?
Yes, he did, but you must excuse me with his murder. I'm not at liberty to divulge that.
Is it about his?
It's members of cabinet.
Ooh.
Wow. Boom. So listen, to put not too fine a point on it, this means that there is now, that there are people out there who know that members of cabinet, having been outed for their crimes, are now actually potentially involved. I'm choosing my words carefully.
Sure, you don't want to be a target.
Potentially, no, it's not that. It's that, no, it's not that at all. It's that these people, you've got it. You can't say someone is guilty of something.
Sure.
It's up for the court, to the court to decide. But that potentially there are people sitting in our cabinet right now who could be involved in like taking people out because they're inconvenient. And you got to understand, the best way for us to break this curse in this country is for everyone to be talking about who those people could be. Because if everyone is talking about it, we're all they can't kill us all.
They can't kill us all. Exactly.
I think this is absolutely devastatingly shit.
That's scary.
And the fact that there are people that are this awful working at the highest levels of government is astonishing, to say the least. You know, that they would take out this guy and his kid. I mean, what kind of a piece of absolute human excrement you have to be to do that? And, you know, I didn't know what the whole story was at the beginning because, frankly, I'm not following this as well as I should if I were a journalist or any of those. The fact that this was, I mean, that guy, the fact that he's just said it's members of cabinet. It's members of cabinet.
That's the people at the tippy top.
I'm looking at those people because I've seen, you know, our cabinet waddle around and, you know, try and make themselves look like they know what they're doing and being important and all the rest. And I've often had this conversation with people. I've said, but they're incompetent. These are not people who could actually pull anything off because they're clearly no good at their jobs.
Sure.
And someone who I regard as being a lot smarter than me said to me once, no, don't underestimate. Like, they're incompetent at doing the stuff we've actually asked them to do, but they're very good at being crooks. So, I don't know. Make of that what you will.
That is so scary. Like, you do realize we live in the kind of place where this is now normalized. This kind of something like this happening.
Well,
all we can do is be shocked and say, "Oh my word! Wow, this really happened." South Africa's a movie. Every year, South Africa's a movie.
When we had Helen Ziller on Thursday, and we haven't had her on the Burning Platform for some time because, you know, she's federal chairperson, so she's not really in the foreground of politics anymore. She said, I mean, she and Canton had a huge big fight, which I'll talk about in a minute. And it was hilarious. But she did say this is a mafia state.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid when you hear stuff like this, you actually can't argue.
Yeah.
Like, it is a mafia state. We're run that with the worst and most dangerous criminals are now at the top of the tree.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with.
And we must just accept and keep it moving.
So on the issue of why Canton and Helen had a big fight is because Canton is like, well, why are you picking sides in this Russia-Ukraine thing when you don't have to? So look at this stupid headline from today. It is from the SABC, so normally I would treat that with some suspicion, but I don't put this past DA leader John Steenhuisen at all. He says, Russian President Vladimir Putin should be arrested if he comes to South Africa. Now, talk about facepalm. I mean, I want to be able to say that John Steenhuisen is a smart guy. And I want to be able to say that we need people like him in South African politics. And by and large, when he talks about domestic issues, and when you look at the DA's record in the Western Cape and other municipalities like Umgeni, where they run things better than any other party.
Sure.
Fair and square. There's no reason for us to argue about that. But when they start talking about shit like this, and when he says, I want to see John Steenhuisen. First of all, he's put on a lot of weight. I don't think he could run up to Vladimir Putin anyway. And I'm not being mean. I love John. I think he's doing as good a job locally and domestically as he can. But when you start mouthing off about bullshit like this, you are not doing anyone any favors. Who is the constituency you're playing to in this case?
Gareth, is he not the same person that actually went to Ukraine?
He was.
In the beginning.
Again. Why? Why? Can I tell you something? No one is voting DA because of your Ukraine policy.
Nobody cares on that level.
And who's going to run up to Vladimir Putin and try and arrest him? Do you know what's going to happen? I mean,
we're already a mafia state.
Correct.
Let's do one thing at a time here. I think in terms of
I
priorities.
don't know if he thinks that that's a brave statement to make, or I don't know who's advising him. I'm like, John, what a stupid thing to say. It's like when the presidency and Naledi were going at each other over the same thing. The average South African does not give a shit.
Don't care, bro.
And I'll tell you something now. If Russian money came here and they said, we want you to do a pro-Russia piece every week, I'd do it.
Oh?
If the Ukrainians came here and said, I want you to do a pro-Ukrainian thing, I'd do it. I think we're not getting enough information about this stuff. And frankly, I don't know whether people care enough about it. So it would have to be very short.
Yeah.
But I don't think that making yourself a partisan to a fight that's going on millions of kilometers away is helping any South African.
It's not. It's not. When we have so much happening right here on our doorstep at home, I think that's where his minerals should be. If anything, this is exactly him going to the war. He went there.
Why are we involved?
Why are we involved?
I mean,
why are we in it? Why are we in it?
If the Ukraine suddenly said to us, and remember we had the Ukrainian ambassador on not so long ago.
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of people would immediately look at that and go, oh, well, they're obviously on Ukraine's side. And Russia were the aggressor in this war, so I don't want to get into that. But the reality is, if Ukraine comes to us and says, we got this great trade deal, or do you want to partner with us on this? We've got to weigh it up on its merits. If Russia does that, we must do the same. If Vladimir Putin comes to visit, what? Who is the brave little soldier who's going to run up and arrest?
Please show yourself.
I mean, I don't believe it for a second, because if you're that brave, why haven't you stood up to our own government?
Yeah, no, look.
Why haven't you done something about load shedding?
This is all talk. Brave. It's just all talk. It's all, talkability. It's this and that's happening. What's trending? Let me jump on and have an opinion. No, John, you go and arrest Vladimir Putin by yourself, single-handed. I just want to see something.
Let's see how that goes.
I want to see if you can even get that close to him. This is motherfucking Vladimir Putin, bro.
Yeah,
you can't just walk up to him and be like,
he's probably one of the most dangerous people in the world.
Exactly.
And this is all like internet virtue signaling. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go and arrest. He should be arrested by who? You think Becky Taylor is gonna run up to him and go, oh, Vladimir? I mean, not a chance. There's not a chance.
It's not happening.
Sometimes you have to look at what the situation is and be realistic about it.
That's all.
That's why I think this is so stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve says quite rightly, it's political posturing.
That's all that's happening.
So dumb. Congo Chris, just trying to look for an argument here, says, oh no, sorry, it's Carl. Says the only reason I'm voting DA next year is because of their stance on the Ukraine and Israel-Palestine issues, lol.
That is the reason. That's the thing that's going to make you vote for them.
And Peter says, and this is what Canton's point was, is we should be buying oil and gas from Russia. Exactly. And Patrick says Canton was 100% correct and glad he roasted Zilla. Are they stupid? Just going to lose votes. And they're giving this country the ANC through the back door. Loved that tweet. What fuckery is this? Yeah.
Hey, so much is happening in South Africa. Let's focus.
Well, I mean, that's exactly right. So I want to order, like you've ordered these lights, which are just unbelievably terrible. I want to order a bunch of mugs. I mean, I saw this mug the other day and I thought this is the kind of mug to give all of my friends the same presents for Christmas or for their birthdays this year.
Okay, that's clever.
Might say something like this: "You slag," and then with a picture of them. Don't you think that would be funny? You slag.
How many friends are we talking, Gareth?
I'm talking like maybe 10.
Okay,
I could do that,
cute.
right?
It's like an inside joke.
Yeah,
and they'll get it. It's very you.
We all have our own mugs here at Cliff Central too. Yeah. We used to have our names on them. I've still got one somewhere with my name on it.
Yeah, everyone still has their own personalized.
I'd like one with a picture of like each of my friends with "you slag."
But do you want to drink out of a mug with your picture on it?
With "you slag" written on it, especially, right? And maybe just at home.
Yeah,
maybe not
during the people. Yeah, okay, go for it.
I think that's a good idea, and it won't cost a fortune either.
It won't. Be careful who you get to print it for you. Just don't get scammed.
Yeah.
But also, like on the brighter side of things, I also ordered like these canvases. You see, like this one behind me here with the just like I submitted a bunch of pictures of me and my kids onto this website, who have been getting a lot of good reviews.
Okay.
And they delivered the canvases, and they are absolutely stunning. Like, I'm so impressed. So look, it's the small wins. You're not gonna get everything, but some of the things you will get. They look so nice.
I think that's awesome.
It's very
See,
nice.
Normally, I wouldn't trust the reviews, but in this case,
You know, yeah,
nice work.
yeah. Sometimes you have to take the risk.
Sometimes they don't screw you over.
Yeah.
Shem, those lights.
Yo, bruh, I must just put them away. I must just hide them. Ooh, GTP, great power. That's the brand. I should have known.
Yeah, Congo Chris reminds us that Putin is actually a legitimate judo double black belt.
Yes.
So he doesn't even need the bodyguards. He'll
take you out himself.
Yeah, like what, John Steenhuisen is going to take him out?
Come on, maybe a donut. Not you, John Steenhuisen. Not you, bro.
I know we're piling on, but I mean, we often pile onto the other politicians. It's his turn for a beating.
Yeah, there's no preference here. It's just a nice, everybody gets the same heat, which is fair, I think. I mean, if you're going to go into politics, you know what you're getting yourself into, It's not a walk in the park.
Which is why we prefer to not be in politics. It's also why we like Tuesdays, because sometimes our friends pop in and say hello. And here he is, Jaco Voigt, who is with us today. Hey, are you going to be chilling with us after this? Because you've got a show later, right? So are you going to be here the whole time?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Nice to see you.
I have to say, it's my first time here in a new place and with you guys.
Yeah, on the show.
I'm loving this. It's much better than remote.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
There's something nice about being in the same room. I mean, it sounds so obvious, but with all of that confusion, someone brought up in the comments 3 years ago today, the lockdown started. And since then, our brains are like stopped working properly.
Yeah.
So it is nice, and it makes a huge difference.
It does. And now you start to notice things like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm loving the energy. It's very nice.
Good.
No, it's lots of fun.
Good.
So what's been happening with you, man? Are you still doing these crazy endurance cycling and running and all kinds of other crazy things? Because this is what you do for fun.
I was actually telling Ryan now 2 weeks ago. And
you didn't do the stupid Cape Epic, did you?
No. One day when I'm big, I'll do that.
No, you mustn't.
When you grow up.
No, you mustn't. I got this email from somebody. Let me just find it. Ryan, did they put that email on the... let me just look for the damn thing.
That's like proper bucket list stuff. That
no, is it really? Would you want to do that?
I think so. Yeah.
Why wouldn't
a
person
listen to this?
Do that?
Hey guys, I've just returned from supporting my sister in the first leg of the Absa Cape Epic. A bit of a bitch and moan incoming. Listen to this. Each rider pays 54,000 Rand entry fee. Is that right?
Yeah. I actually thought it's more, to be honest. I had like 80, but
54,000 Rand to put yourself through hell
and ride a bicycle.
Okay, this is definitely a mental illness.
It's a hard no.
This is a proper mental illness. All right, so Jaco, you can help me understand this, right? I'm going to unpack the email as we go through it here. This is from Nikki. So you pay that money.
Yeah.
Gets you access to an 8-day event, overnight accommodation, and a teeny tiny minuscule tent.
Yes.
Communal showers, portaloos, and all the shit food along the way, because these are all like health people, so they can eat like terrible food. You get the choice to upgrade to a luxury tent at an additional fee. This is where you're talking about 80. Never mind the fact that this year the luxury tents were placed next to noisy generators that are running 24/7, or the gale force winds on Monday afternoon that meant the entire race village had to be dismantled and riders were left to sleep in the local school hall overnight. Or the fact that there's a tummy bug going around, no doubt exacerbated by the portaloos. So people were diarrhea infused. This is just lovely.
You could queue for that.
Yeah, you could queue for this. And then the better part is when you hop on your bike. At the best of times, there's a dropout rate on the race, but it seems like Monday night's debacle caused many riders to drop out yesterday. The ripple effect will no doubt be the cause of many more doing so. The poor positioning of the tents will likely have a negative effect. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist, says Nikki, to see the glaring disparity between what riders pay for and what they get. As an outsider, I think the entire thing is a ripoff. It's making someone quite rich. 54,000 Rand for that. It's like paying a top-tier dominatrix to whip you. I understand the godlike athleticism required to enter the race, let alone compete in it. I have the utmost respect for anyone who can. I do realize the level of infrastructure needed to host such an event, but I'm sorry, to me it feels like a case of the emperor's new clothes. I'd love to hear from any of your listeners who've experienced this either as a rider or a supporter or a vendor at the race. Many riders get sponsored to do it, but most do not. My sister's team is raising money for charity. That's where their sponsorship is going. Love the show. Love you guys, Nikki. Well, first of all, Nikki, I'll climb in and say that your sister deserves this, and bad things happen because you deserve it. And if you're going to spend money on something this medieval, you kind of get what's coming to you.
Not 54,000 rands.
But more. Jaco says more.
That sounds like a rocking the daisies. It's a festival setup. There's tents and toilets. That's it. 54,000
You
rands.
would want to do this?
Well, Epic is invitation, so you've got to qualify. So there's a bit of a yeah.
So you qualify and then they charge you.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How many people take part in this thing, Jaco? I've never paid attention to it until Nikki's email.
Well, it's actually interesting. I haven't done Epic because I still need to grow up a bit, but I've done Sani to see, and one of the things I often say to Anita is,
Anita's your wife.
Yeah, it really.
You guys do that. You both do this.
Well, she doesn't. No, she doesn't cycle. We run now.
Okay.
She likes.
But you do the running together, and then you are into the cycling now.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the running is the same story. I mean, this past weekend I was we were in Saturday in the rain. We were in a place close to Harties called Rustig.
Yeah.
And we did.
Saturday was unbelievably shit weather.
And then they just, it was sort of in a koppie/mountain, and they just let us go and do it. And I like halfway through, and it's raining and slippery,
mud everywhere,
and you can't see, and it's like just down. And I was saying to her, I actually can't believe that they just let people go and do it.
Like safety regulations?
Yeah, they'll come and find you at some stage, I guess.
Well, they'll find the bodies. They'll have to recover the bodies. You've got to feel sorry for the rescue people who are called in, because this is a voluntary thing.
Yes.
So people are putting themselves into a situation where there's going to probably be shit, at least for a few people. They're not going to handle it. It's going to go horribly wrong. Then someone has to pay for a helicopter to come out and rescue someone, or for somebody to drive up the mountain, get stuck. There are huge costs involved. And I don't know that this Cape Epic thing, I saw a video of a dude on Instagram, not someone I followed. It came up in the feed. And he was like, he's had diarrhea for 4 days. He's hating his life. And I thought, why would you do this? You have to explain to me what it is that makes people do this.
Because clearly there's something.
And and then it's all relative. Because then there's a and I'm sure there's even more extreme bicycle races.
Sure.
But there's a thing called Racing the Planet, for example, where you do 4 deserts. So 7 days, 250 kilometers, self-supported. All your food,
Is it to prove to yourself you can do it? Because that would make a bit of sense.
Well, I think it's exactly
Probably,
that. It's because it's a
like-
mental thing, like
Because yesterday on the show, I brought up this article that I read over the weekend, that men in particular, they need a bit of danger in their lives. And if you don't have a little bit of danger in your life as a man, you get frustrated because life has become kind of soft. And I can't imagine there is a softer group of people in the universe right now than kind of middle-class dudes who have a job. And, so maybe we all, because I put myself in there as well, maybe we need a little more danger in our lives. And maybe that's partly why people do this.
But it's for me, it's how far can you stretch your mind? That's really
Sure.
Because if you think about it, if you do 7 days, so it's on average 30-40 kilometers a day.
Oof.
You have to carry your food and everything that you're wearing and your sleeping bag and everything. That's just you fighting against yourself because you.
So it is a mental thing more than it is a physical endurance.
You're testing your limits.
It's what Rena told us last week about John Hunt. Every year he adds something new that he hasn't ever done before. So just to keep yourself on your toes, always challenge yourself. So this almost seems like the kind of thing that would be up there as far as let me challenge myself.
So would you want to go through what these people are going through now? Because it sounds horrible.
I think,
aren't there other ways because you're a smart guy, you already know the limits of your mental. You've started businesses. You're one of the busiest people I know.
I think this year was for Epic was probably particularly bad because it was raining and the weather. But like I was saying to Nita, like there's certain of these things, like for example, when you know, like if I manage to get a entry to the Cape Epic and I finish it, you get a bit of merch, so you get like a jacket or a T-shirt. Like for Epic, you can wear that with pride. It's a bit of a badge of honor. So,
Hey.
yes,
yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just made differently to other people. I have zero desire to ever take part. If you gave me free entry and everything, bells and whistles, you couldn't get me there if you buckled me and attached me to one of the other people on this thing.
But I've got to add, the diarrhea and the porta potties is not, it's not unique to Cape Epic. The announcer when I did Sonny to see, he told us he did Joburg to see, so they literally ride from Joburg to Scottsboro or something. And then he said he was just as they were about to kick off, he had to go run quickly, and then they were busy dismantling the camp because they move on to the next one and the next one. And he was on the porta potty and he felt the thing started moving. So, so he had to run out and
while
say,
he was there.
"Yeah, guys, wait."
You know, I mean, listen, there must be some very funny stories from this one. But I thought when I knew you were coming in this morning, I had to read this to you because you're the only one who could explain it.
You lose your ease and graces. You don't worry about any of that type of stuff.
Sure.
You become very basic, if I can call it that.
I mean, you've just paid 50,000 rand.
Well, I mean, that's just for the entry.
Yeah,
Then
that's
you still
just
have to
your
get
entry.
there, and then never mind the bicycle and the
So
gear.
listen,
I think it'll be insane.
Believe it or not, we didn't drag you in here this morning to talk about that. I want to talk about how much has changed, and in 2023, for many people, this is finally the year that they're not going to dilly-dally and bugger around anymore. They can get themselves and their business onto the cloud, because if you are still storing things on a hard drive, or you've got a bunch of computers in a server room doing this for you, it's just so inefficient and stupid. And there are a lot of big companies that are still doing this.
Well, it's actually
They've invested. There's like a sunken cost thing going on here.
Yeah.
Right?
It's actually interesting, Gareth. You spoke about this the 3-year anniversary of one of the most insane events that we'll ever experience. I think what I'm actually seeing I think during that period, everybody was just piling in and going, we've got to take everything into the cloud, and we're never going to go back to the office. What I'm actually experiencing, I actually reposted an article from an American guy last week on LinkedIn, and I was getting lashed from some guys in South Africa. But there is actually a bit of a boomerang effect happening. So there's actually people that piled into this, and I think most probably the problem around it is the term cloud is a bit ubiquitous. You know, what is it?
Sure.
But everybody went into this hyperscaler world and just went there and said, okay, right, that's the end of our problems, and our budgets are going to be under control, and it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. And what's happening is there's actually this sort of boomerang effect where a lot of businesses are now going and saying, looking at it over a 2 or 3 year period, it was actually a lot more expensive than just having that sunk cost there. So what's actually happening
Really?
is
So they're turning around and doing the opposite. But you wouldn't advise that's a good idea.
Well, Gareth, you've got to look at.
I was going to say, you're wearing a shirt that says Ultra Data Center.
Yes. So
okay. So what's the Ultra Data Center? Are these clients and partners of yours or something?
So Ultra Data Center is a Catalytic sister company.
Okay.
And it's basically a place where people come and store their servers and computers and stuff.
Okay.
So when you look at it, and that's why I'm saying this, the term cloud is a bit too generic. So what's happening, a lot of people will say it's more cost efficient to buy my own infrastructure, but I don't want to house it in my offices or whatever. So I'm going to go find a place to put it. And a data center is really.
I saw one of those big industrial buildings in Midrand.
Yes.
That's a data center. Yes. As you drive past sort of waterfall area.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, you know those guys?
That's Vantage, an American company. They according to them, they spent $1 billion there. So
because you got to cool it, you got to keep upgrading it. See, this is why I get frustrated, and we're just a small business. But yesterday, Khomolemo comes to me and he says to me, we're gonna have to do something with that computer in my office. And I'm like, oh, what? Because these things do, they do need replacement or refurbishment.
Maintenance and stuff.
And why, if that's not your core business, what are you doing with it?
And that's exactly. And I was actually at an industry event last week where they were talking about the potential of a grid shutdown and how those data centers would, because you have to store diesel, and then the other problem that you have is, you've got a certain allowance of generator cost that you cost in as a standard part of your price.
Yeah.
But once you start running generators for like 3 days or a week or 2 weeks or whatever, you've got to go back to your customers in the data center and say, listen, I've got to share some of my costs with you. Yeah. So it's a very difficult scenario, and it was almost like such a bizarre thing for me because they're talking about total grid collapse, and we're sitting in an industry event and they're saying, okay, well, the max we can run is for a month, and I'm saying, guys, I don't want to be funny, but I think if the total grid collapses, the last thing that people are going to worry about is what's happening to their data. It'll probably be carnage out there in the streets,
zombie apocalypse stuff.
So it was such a bizarre thing, but rightly so, and I think that exactly what you're saying, Gareth, is as people come out of those 2 or 3 year cycles now, and they're looking at the cost, and they're saying maybe entrusting all of that data and experiencing the hidden cost of all of these large international hyperscalers is maybe not the best for my business. It might be a bit too expensive. So what you and in saying that, and that's why I said this generic term is maybe a bit problematic. There's a lot of South African companies which I support fully, which offers private cloud services to customers. So I think we tend to have this tendency to run to all of the international guys and not necessarily look at what's locally available. So I think those local or private cloud guys, they're a lot more becoming a lot more relevant and popular than they were 2-3 years ago, because everybody likes to have a big name attached to it. Everybody goes, well.
Is it hard? I mean, here's the comment that somebody makes here. Gig Shack says, I absolutely agree with Jaco. Once caught up in the cloud, it's very hard to get out of it. Is that true?
The international, so let's call it the guys like the Microsofts of the world or the AWSs of the world. Once you're in, to get your data out, you have to pay them for it.
Oh, really? So it's like the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave.
Exactly that. And that's those hidden costs. So you pay to get data in, you pay to back up your data there, you pay to get data out. Yeah. It's very costly, and I think it's very difficult for the guy that made that. The CTO or the CEO that made that commitment to now go back to his management or his board and say, guys, I actually got to double up on my mistake because we had to pay to get in, and now I've got to pay to get out.
And build the new infrastructure in-house.
Exactly that.
Damn.
Got to make these decisions very carefully. Very carefully. That is just one of the reasons that we have a show on this every single week with Jaco on Tuesdays on cliffcentral.com. Nice. You don't want to miss this. It's this is where you can get the kind of information. And by the way, you don't have to be the CTO of your company. It's important for everyone to know this stuff because we all have data these days. These bloody things. This backs up to the cloud.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I need to know what that means. The only place I'm going to find that out is from you. Get your information right. Make sure you pay attention and listen to Jaco's show with Catalytic every single Tuesday. Make sure you don't miss it. All right. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Grab a coffee. We've got some decent coffee for the first time in ages. So I'll make sure you get it. All right. It's 7:00, everybody. We'll be back in a moment with a whole lot more. Lebang and I, we've got some guests popping in later too. Don't go anywhere.
This week on the Auto Trader Podcast.
5 obscure facts you probably don't know about cars. So I'm just going to run through all of them and you can tell me if you knew this. The first one, Ford had actually plans to build a nuclear-powered car.
I do know this, and it never happened, but they do have the designs for it.
Yeah, I think they got the patent ready, kind of years ago, but for obvious reasons, probably not the best idea.
Well, do you want to be driving around a nuclear bomb?
Become a missile. Exactly. It's a bit sketchy.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Cracking. We've got a lot to do this morning, and we got lots of people popping in and out. We've got things to do, people to see, places to go, and
That's
I hope
right.
you do too. All right, so a lot of people in the comments, Snaye is saying here, and this is such a big story, I can't believe I don't know anything about it, and I'm not going to be able to add any value here, but this is just one of those mafia state stories that
Yeah.
seems to be going on in the background, this Thabo Bester story. And Snaye says, it's got to be the craziest thing I've heard in a while. I didn't pay attention to it at first, but now it's like a docuseries I can't stop watching. So I've heard the name.
Yeah.
And first of all, I got to say, it's really confusing, and it shows you where South Africa's at the moment, that his name is Thabo Bester. All right. I mean, like, just off the bat, I want to say that's pretty wild. Theron
Yeah.
says it is like a Netflix docu in real time. The story's getting wilder by the day.
It truly is. And there's just so many layers. But what I can appreciate is some real good journalism that still exists out there. There is a timeline that unpacks the full story. But all I can tell you is that in the past, maybe over 10 years, Thabo Bester has single-handedly fooled everybody. Not only fooled people,
Who is this guy?
he's a con man. But he's like
Oh.
a super con man. And he started a very long time ago back in the day. He was formerly known as the Facebook rapist. So he would call you up and say, I work for this and that agency. We're looking for models, or we're looking for music video girls, or we're looking for actresses and actors come through. He would meet up with you and then essentially just rape you and steal from you. And I say that lightly, but a lot of people have come forward as victims of Thabo. So he got arrested initially on that front. And then, it just got messy a couple of days ago where the VAR started coming out. The stories that while he was in prison, he passed away because there was a fire in his cell. But the body in the cell was never confirmed to be his.
Oh, my God.
And his wife...
I heard a little bit about this.
Yeah.
I was confused.
It's just so layered. There's just so much happening. So his wife came forward to confirm that, yes, it's his body, but the DNA didn't match his mother's. Anyway, to fast forward, they were doing some shopping last year in Sandton City at the ShopRite, just getting some groceries casually, when somebody recognized him. He had a big, longer hair, and he was wearing shades, but the face of his shape, everything looked like his.
Oh, wow.
Anyway,
Oh, wow.
dude. So confirmed, him and his wife were just living their best lives. And this
So
timeline,
he faked his own death.
he faked his own death
What a story.
with the help of a lot of people also in high places. So just a side note, MacG and Saul wanted to talk about this on their podcast. So they went as far as interviewing one of the guys who actually lives in prison, who was in the same jail cell as Thabo. So they interviewed this guy, and this guy's spilling everything, all the beans. Like, this is how it happened. This is who's involved. And he starts naming all the higher up officials who were part of this thing.
Oh.
Here's the thing. The catch is that Saul and MacG couldn't even release that episode because they were shit scared that if they released that episode, it's the same story that happened earlier with the guy who got killed with his son. Same WhatsApp group.
Yeah, but you see, it's even worse if you hold on to it. Now they know you've got that episode.
That's why they didn't release it. They were like, hey,
No, but they've recorded it.
they
is the
recorded
point.
it. It's
So
there. It's
so
there. It's
you're
just
already
not out.
So you're already in danger.
They're already in danger.
The only way you actually protect yourself is by releasing it. So I hope they do.
So a lot's happening. And there's just a lot of foul play. Apparently his wife, Dr. Nandi, had rented out an apartment in Hyde Park. While they'd rented out these apartments, they start renovating. Once they renovate this house, they start selling it. Like they try to find buyers because they're not paying the rent, but they're going to other people. Dude, it's just so messy. It's just a lot.
So this guy's like a high-level con man. He's obviously very good at this shit. So here's a bit of a breakdown. I can't read all of this, but there's this whole timeline.
It's so
of what's
much.
happened.
It's so much. 2011,
Wow.
that's when he's convicted by the Durban High Court. 2012, that's when he's sentenced to prison. 2018, he poses from prison. This is another layer of the story. So he poses as the chairman of a 21st century media house, which is basically, he just scams everyone. He's in a prison cell. He's gathered hundreds of celebrities and people at a venue, and they all singing happy birthday to him while he's on screen in jail, dressed in a suit. But no one knows he's in jail. He's told them I'm in an international what. Yo, guys, so much is going on. 2020, that's when his partner, his wife Nandipa, starts to buy all these houses and starts sending documents and faking his signature and whatever, and saying, no,
while he's in jail.
While he is in jail. No, my husband's doing an international trip, so he can't. Guys, a lot's happening. Anyway, so it's getting really hot. It seems as though there's a lot to unpack, but a lot of people are picking up on. A lot of journalists are doing really good work. Netflix is already on it as far as getting a docu together, because what in the mafia state? Yo. Anyway, they're on the run. Long story short, if you see, they are on the run right now. If you bump into them, let your local authorities know.
But, I mean, again, if you're lucky enough to get away with faking your own death in prison, and you know that they still have to get out of the country, run for the hills. I don't know. I do think that there are a lot of really dumb people involved in criminal stuff in this country. There are obviously smart people as well.
Yes.
The obvious thing to me, and this is where these especially these people who are involved in like tender fraud and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, leave the country.
I mean, I think he's probably tried. I'm sure they've probably tried, but like, there's only so far that your scam can take you.
Please, you drive over the border. We live in Southern Africa. We've got the most porous borders in the world. Just leave.
They're not trying to go to any of these surrounding countries, dude. They want to, like, if they're going to want to leave.
From there, you can get to other places. Wherever you want to go.
Look,
if you've got money.
But if you're a scammer and you have successfully been scamming in South Africa for however long,
this is your market for stupid.
Exactly.
Right.
You know the people, you know how far their thinking goes, you know how easy it is to con them. If you can pose as a CEO of a 21st century media while you're in prison, you know that this crowd is going to eat that up. At some point,
so
he had hosted an event. Who's that lady you interviewed?
When last did they seen?
It was last year. It was last year in June.
And it's only coming out now?
It's only coming out now. But after that picture surfaced, people started doing some research, and they found that they've actually been renting out apartments and houses all over Hyde Park. They rent out, they sign everything, they pay a deposit, but then you never get your rent, your actual rent, you don't get it. While they're staying in that house, they start to renovate that house and then put it on the market and try sell it. This is like high-level conning that is happening here. This is experience. This is years of fuckery. You know the market. You know the people you're dealing with. And that is partially why, he probably wants to keep it local, because he knows this is where he eats. This is the man.
This is the guy. Huh?
This is the guy. Yes. So I'm not the only one who's getting scammed, bruh. Scamming is a thing. It's a real thing.
Terrible.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. People are getting hurt in the process. Needless to say, when he began his thing, he was raping and hurting a lot of people back in the day.
Jesus.
Just luring them in. Yeah, it's crazy.
Another scam people don't know about, says Snipes, because you have to go to the bank to block and reverse it, is the 99 Rand off your account.
Oh, tell us more.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Is that not like bank charges or something?
I don't know.
Taraji. You remember you interviewed Taraji P. Henson?
Yes.
He put together an event. This very same Thabo guy put together an event, said Taraji's going to be in South Africa from Empire. Yes.
Yeah.
She's going to be in South Africa. Tickets are only 1,500. one-on-one conversations, blah, 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 blah. Somebody tweeted her and said, hey, what time are you landing in South Africa? She's like, landing in South Africa? I'm not coming to South Africa anytime soon. I'm shooting. I'm working. This must be false. By then, people had bought tickets. Money was in his bank account while he's sitting in prison, living his absolute best. He has clocked us as a country. This is why he keeps doing. He clocked us years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. Somehow, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I'd done this to people.
Dude.
That's what always gets me is like, you've got to have some conscience. These people who do this kind of stuff, they just don't feel anything.
It's too late for that.
There are people who are really suffering in this world. There are people who are honestly going through hell. And you're okay with taking money that is not yours, stealing it, and then going, well, they were gullible enough to fall for it. Listen, of course, punishment needs to be handed out to stupidity. But I just don't know that I want to be the one with that on my conscience.
No, of course not. Well, you're a better person, Gareth. These people that we're talking about are so
upset
lost.
I would not be able to sleep.
They're
I would not
gone.
be able to deal with it. I would not be
Yeah.
able to spend a cent of that money.
What is worse is that this woman that he's gallivanting with, his wife, Dr. Nandi, has a child that she's involved in all of this. Like the child.
The child's involved?
The child is just like trollalalaying.
So is she a doctor?
She's a doctor who clearly doesn't really love herself enough to.
And is the child just traveling with them while
the
they're hiding
child
out?
is just traveling with them while they're going from house to house, from con to con, from scam to scam.
Jesus, you really have to be so dedicated to it. Hey?
Yo, dude,
What a
it's
story.
a long game.
I'm sorry I wasn't paying attention to this before now because this is fascinating. This is probably one of the more interesting things that we've come across.
This is happening on our doorstep. Like,
Holy
it's
shit.
happening right here, right now. And we're all just watching it unfold, wondering how are we going to get to the bottom of it, if there is a bottom? Because the fact that he can fake his death and be helped by the guards and people who are higher up, in inverted commas, tells you how screwed we are. Like, the body didn't match his DNA. How is he still on the loose? How is he not captured? Yeah.
Dr. Nandipa.
Yeah. And she does look innocent. And Togo's saying in the comments, Dr. Nandi looks so innocent. She does. She looks like one of those sweet,
Oh, wow.
you know,
she's an attractive woman.
sometimes it's the better looking ones that
Holy
get
shit.
you.
Okay, I put a picture of her up here because someone just sent me a picture of her. Wow. Okay, well, you know what? I suppose bad people sometimes come in nice outfits.
Yeah. Definitely. A lot's happening.
She had a practice and everything. She was a
like
successful
in Instagram.
doctor?
Yeah, like she was very open and out there. She'd always post her stuff like, hey guys, I'm taking, you can come through, check me out. Da, 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 da. Like she was one of those positive, open, successful women. We're all rooting for her. And then to see that she was involved with Thabo, not that guy. That guy is literally in the list of people you just shouldn't be involved with or have any relation to at all. And her brother has also come forward to confirm that yes, indeed, she is involved with this guy.
Jeez.
And she's actually a piece of shit.
Oh,
He
really?
described her as evil. If your own brother's
And
gonna
she
call
tried
you,
to put a hit out on him?
bro, hey, South Africa's a movie. It's a movie.
I can't believe this is actually real.
It's real. It's real life. So what's gonna happen to them? We'll find out next week on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Like we're just sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for an update. Every day something else comes out. And they're just connecting the dots. On top of that, they're sloppy. They're sloppy because everybody's got access to their information. How are we finding all of this
Well, they
out?
were also posting stuff from what I've seen here on social media. Like,
sloppy.
again, how stupid do you have to be? There's something about like the kind of criminal that is also looking for attention.
Yes.
Because it would be one thing to just be a greedy son of a bitch who wants to steal other people's money and you want to live a great life.
Yeah.
But that you want to live a great life and you want other people to see it.
There's something to be said about.
It's so pathological, right?
Yes. There's something in your brain that's just not.
Yo.
It's not making, it's not coming correct. Like that level of you want the fame and the glory and the attention, but you're up to shit. How do you balance that?
And this is happening like right up the road.
bro, Hyde Park is right here. We can go grab a lunch, and then just behind there is this house that this man and his wife have
Unbelievable.
not been paying rent for, but they've renovated to try and resell.
It's unreal. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm so glad that you told me about this. Now at least I know what's going on.
Look it up. Like, just,
No.
just-
I looked it up. Don't you worry. I looked that shit up.
Yo, bro, a lot's happening.
Yeah.
A lot is happening.
Wow. Holy shit.
Doug.
And it gets more and more interesting, and there's more and more layers to this as you go. Taking out a hit on her own brother.
On her own brother. Yep.
All right. Apparently, you are very concerned that there is a lack of labor laws for child influencers. I don't know that this is really you that's worried about this, because I reckon of all the people I know, you're the one who wants less laws around child labor and child influences, because you could make an absolute killing with your
I could be
3,000 children.
I could be rich, right?
If each of them could be an influencer that brings in $5,000 a month.
I wouldn't have to work.
No.
I
you
could literally just
send the children to the mines.
Off you go. So why this caught my attention, Gareth, is that there's a young lady who her whole life, she was a child influencer, and her whole life has just been put out there on YouTube, on IG, whatever. So now she's probably she's 16, she's about to turn 17. So when social media first began, her parents saw an opportunity and they've just been putting her out there. They're putting her to work. And she's
like the parents of child stars have done for years.
It's Britney, it's all of them. This has been happening.
This is what they do.
But now it's kind of different in that it's like social media. So it's not like your job is going to the studio to perform or to come up with songs or to be an actor or a child star.
Sure.
Your life is just being put out there. Every time you cry, there's a video. Every time you laugh, there's a video. So this girl was pretty much just complaining and saying, if I had a choice, I would have asked my parents to not put my life out there, because all this attention, all this, she's a celeb essentially. She just genuinely doesn't want that. It's not what she wants. And her parents have forced her into this. And her parents don't have jobs, like you're saying. They don't work. They don't have to do anything because the kid brings in all the bacon. She's about to turn 18. She's turning 18 and she says, as soon as I turn 18, I'm moving the fuck out of that house. And I'm going to get a court order to not have any contact with her parents. It's getting to that point where it's almost psychotic. Her parents don't want her to do anything except for this. So it's messy. So she was like, if there were better child laws against child influences, I was like, damn, this is something that hasn't been explored. Why? Because it's brand new. This is the first time we're dealing with a generation of kids who are involuntary child influences. And again, Gareth, it's different. It's not you're going to your sweatshop and you're working. Your life is just being documented without your consent.
I think you've got to be so careful as a parent these days, because it seems like a winning thing. Your kid is going to bring in all this money and you're going to put it away for them. Let's say you've got all the best intentions. Let's say you're a really thoroughly good person.
Yeah.
And you are honestly looking at this and saying, it's an opportunity for my kid. Let them have a reserve. When they get into their 20s, they can go to university, they can study, they can travel a little bit, they can enjoy the money that they've earned in inverted commas.
Sure.
But there is the ethical question of whether or not a child should ever be earning money.
Number one.
Below a certain age. And then you've got to think about whether that's something that would make any sense to people, because throughout history, kids have gone to work at age 7, 8, 9, even younger in many cases.
Yeah.
In most societies, the kids help with stuff around the house or the farm or the, herding the cattle or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So
but
how can we impose, especially in sort of rural areas, how can we impose rules on the people who do that, but we don't impose rules on kids who are being turned into social media influencers?
Exactly. For me, it's the psychological effects that we're talking about. When you're a child and you have to go do chores or you have to partake in, putting in your 2 cents in the house and going to work, that's completely different to I'm putting your life on blast in return for money. Your job is essentially just to live. And that automatically comes with these psychological effects of having people just come up to you and recognize you and, oh my word, I've watched you grow up since you were such a baby. It's the whole world watching you grow up. And as a parent, it kind of got me thinking I remember there was a time I opened a social media account for one of my kids because he's just so funny.
Right.
But then I was like, nah, man, let me not do that. Let him decide when he comes of age. If he wants to do it, he'll do it. I don't want to play a part in this. If he wants to, he can. Because he watches a lot of YouTube and he does a lot of, hey guys, welcome to my show, and like and subscribe. If he wants to, but I'm not going to force all 5 of my kids to do that. Why? They have different personality types. They have different interests.
Yeah,
they
what
don't
if-
give a rat's ass. Some of
what-
them don't care for that.
What if somewhere in the next few years, you could already see it happening with the influencers. But
Yeah.
what if somewhere in the next 5 years, the most valuable thing becomes to not have any digital footprint at all?
It probably already is. There's a lot of people.
Well, I mean, some of the most wealthy people,
Yeah.
they're not on social
You're not going to
media.
see them anywhere online. And that's the real currency. So there's a very big danger here with regards to, like, as a parent, how much of your child are you? And I don't want to, how do I? There's a person who recently found their way onto my WhatsApp, and her statuses pop up. You know, sometimes people's statuses pop up. There's like a couple of statuses every hour. There's like 5 different updates of her and her kid, or her kid's life, how she changes her kids' sheets, and you know what they're gonna eat today. And it's cute. It's all fun and games, but it's also like, oh, this is a lot of information about how you run your child's life. And you can see this child is also just tired of also being on camera.
Oh, wow.
Mommy,
I don't, why are we doing this again?
why are we doing this?
Oh, that's horrible.
Dude, and I don't know how to say to her, like, yo, this is like almost like invasion of your son's privacy. All that's missing is for us to know the color of his underwear. I swear to God. Tell them what you're eating today.
And
Today,
it used to be that, you know, you only had to look out for like creeps and pedophiles and things like that. But now
Yo,
you're like putting all this information out there.
it's a lot of information.
Yeah, you don't want people knowing that your kid does karate at this time in the
No.
afternoon, or that
No.
they're taking part in this sport, or
No.
it's none of their business. Like,
Because-
especially strangers.
Strangers, right?
And it's bad enough with adults, but if people are doing this with kids,
Bro.
mm-mm.
And not only that, it's also now people that are actually
All right, so here's the question though. If I put you in charge of this today, and
Sure.
would you ban all influencers under the age of 16?
100%.
You'd say not acceptable.
100.
Any parent who does this with their child under 16, straight to jail.
Go directly to jail. Do not pass begin. Do
Well,
not
how-
collect your.
How do we
Yes.
make it? How do we make an ad with kids in it for TV?
We can make an ad, but we can't put the child's life out there. If we're putting on an act and we are scripting a commercial with the intention of making sales or to commercialize something, that we can do if it's a child actor. But if this is just a child living their life who's still figuring themselves out, who still doesn't really know what's going on, I think there's a line, man. There's a line. Just try to find a balance is all I'm asking. Because you'll find yourself in a situation where your child is 17, turning 18, and will want nothing to do with you. Will want nothing to do with you because
they
you
actually
have.
will hate you.
They'll fucking hate you. They'll be like, you've made my life a living hell. Everybody knows what I look like when I cry, when I'm wiping my ass. Everybody knows people who I didn't want them in my. Just draw the line, I think, mommies. And especially because now you have these kids who are winning awards for being child influencers, who are getting tons and tons of money for being child influencers. Like, I see that, but for your child, if you know your child and their personality and who they are, you need to ask yourself if this is the right thing for them. And
I said a while ago that one of the best things I've ever seen is when I looked up my mother on Google and nothing came up.
yeah,
And I was like, wow, that's pretty damn cool.
it's probably
that's-
so rare.
That's very cool, right? And Lee says here there's a big market now for digital scrubbing. People paying a lot of money to have their digital foot minimized and edited down.
Yep,
Um,
digital
I
scrubbing.
think that is a big business.
yeah,
That's a huge business. That's something that if you are in, you know, if you can make someone disappear from the internet,
people would pay a lot of money for that. People would pay a lot of money for that because there's just too much out there. Like, there's a lot out there, and you're probably just doing it like in just, you know, in good faith. There's bad people out there as well.
Slippery Pickle says, with the worst spelling of this name I've ever seen in my life. Exactly, Lebang, says Slippery Pickle. Look at what happened to Macaulay Culkin. You couldn't have spelt that worse. Slippery Pickle, I don't know if you are drunk or if you've just woken up or...
I can appreciate that. It's
Let me
spelled
just-
how it's said.
No, let me
It's the
spell
f-
it. Let me
it's the
spell it
f-
the way that Slippery Pickle has, and try and don't crash your car if you're driving, right? Mick MC Orly Orly. Culkin spelled Culcin. Now you actually spell the name Macaulay Macauley
L-A-Y.
Lay. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
Culkin,
Culkin.
but not Macaulay Culkin with a C. It's the worst spelling ever, Slippery Pickle. But yes, Macaulay Culkin hated
Yo.
the fact that he had been exploited as a child, and he
Definitely.
was miserable about it. And for many years, he's been complaining about how he didn't want it, and his parents wanted it. And you get these pushy parents as well, hey.
Because they just don't want to work. They just like, oh,
So-
my child can make all this money. I can just sit.
No, but you get these pushy parents that they might really want the best for their kid, but it's just not appropriate for a child to be doing this stuff.
It's not.
Right?
It's not. You do the work. You decided to make the child, right? The child is here. You kept it, right? You do the work.
Mhm.
Be responsible for your own child. Do what you need to do to raise your child. Do not push the child into territories that are unnecessary. And I'm not bashing mothers who put their kids out there. Do your thing, but find the line. I beg you. Find the line. You don't want these kids
Wow.
to be psychologically screwed in the next 10 years because they Google themselves and everything pops up. Every single little thing pops up. No.
Well, you see, this is the other thing, is that we're so early into this.
We just don't know.
We
enough.
don't know yet, right?
We don't know yet.
We actually don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the
Exactly.
psychological effects of this are.
Mm.
We don't know what it means, whether your value is going to go down in the future because there's so much about you online.
Mm.
Might go up, but it might also go in the opposite direction. It might be
Exactly.
the most devastating thing. It might also make it very difficult for you to get a job one day. It might make it
Exactly.
very difficult for you to fit in at school. You don't
Anything.
know.
We don't know the consequences. And I guess that's what makes it so interesting is that we're still in lab rat phase and it's already not looking good. It's really already not looking good. And like these days when people go for job go for like job interviews, sometimes employers pull up your old Facebook posts from 13
do.
years ago already.
Oh no, we know that. Yeah.
It's already happening.
already
So
happening.
what more?
Yeah.
When I mean, come on. You just type something in AI, what, and you say, what was this person doing 14 years? Pull up everything on this applicant. All the bad shit just pops up.
Well, I mean, we already know that people are going in and scrubbing their own Twitter accounts. They're going in and deleting stuff that they said 5-6 years ago because suddenly what they said then that they thought was funny is now very politically
And
incorrect.
they're not the same person. I'm allowed to
They are.
grow.
Yeah. And you are.
Yeah.
You should
yeah,
be, especially if you're a
definitely.
kid.
Yeah.
If you're a child and you said something really stupid, but you thought it was funny back in, 2007,
Yeah.
and now you're an adult trying to make your way in the world,
Exactly.
you shouldn't be held responsible for that.
You shouldn't. And who's going to go through all their tweets from back then?
I certainly won't.
No,
Don't
not
expect
a
me.
chance.
Don't expect me to be scrubbing anything.
Yeah, no, if you find something that I say, yes, I said it, it's fine. It's out there. Do with it what you will. I don't care. But some people will they'll sit, dude, and they'll say, oh my God, I said this in the year 2011 on
Well,
January the 2nd.
I mean, while we're on this issue of kids and making the world a bit safer for them, apparently at American schools, they've come up with a bulletproof safe room. I mean, this
Yes.
shows you how bad things have got in America. And apparently the latest shooting, this is a really scary story.
It
Let me
was
just
like
pull this up.
now,
Now, just today, yeah. So the
Ooh.
latest right-wing school shooter, in inverted commas,
Ooh.
turns out to be a transgender person. So number one, watch how quickly the media moves on from this story because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Yes.
So they'll pretend this didn't happen.
Mhm.
If it was like a Trump supporter, it would be in the news for weeks. But this is
Sure.
going to be a transgender person who shoots up a school or whatever. It's obviously, move on. Don't even draw attention to this. And then number two, watch as more evidence that the problem isn't assault rifles, as they keep saying it is. It's mental health,
Of course.
right?
Of course.
The only reason I can think of that anyone would go into a school and shoot a bunch of their fellow students or kids that are studying there or whatever, the only reason anyone would do that is because they've got severe mental health problems. That's the only reason.
A private Christian school.
Yeah.
6 kids killed.
Yeah.
3 of them. Yo, what is wrong? What is wrong?
It's mental health problems. You have to be completely psychotic to go and do this to children in a school. And since the first one, you remember back in, what was it, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris and Columbine, all those years ago, which they're still trying to figure out. It's real big, horrible, lurid, fat mental health problems. And it goes across all political points of view. It comes from all races and backgrounds. It's got nothing to do with the narratives that you're being sold on media.
Yeah.
For someone to do this, they are sick in the head.
No, you're sick. You're
So,
sick.
again, you may have a problem with guns. You may say, well, guns are the problem. And they're valid arguments too. And they're valid arguments against this position. But honestly, the fact that we haven't sat down and had a serious conversation about why it is that there are all these crazy people. We used to have institutions that looked after crazy people. If you go to places like San Francisco and Los Angeles now, there are more crazy people on the street living in tents than ever before because there's nowhere else for them to go. They shouldn't be in society. They've got very severe problems.
Yeah.
This is something I want to talk to, first of all, Hanan about, but also to Prof. Zabo about.
Sure.
Because at some point, it became very healthy for us to discuss our mental health problems. And I'm one of those people who thinks it is a good idea.
Yeah. So.
But it also became so socially acceptable for everybody to have mental health problems that now you've got kids boasting about them.
It's almost
they list their, like they list their pronouns and they list their mental. Well, I'm bipolar and I'm very anxious and I'm on this medication for my anxiety and I'm on this medication for my schizophrenia or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we don't institutionalize people anymore. And maybe the institutions were really bad. We know we had that huge problem in this country with Life Estimeni, for example.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people, it's better that they're not in society. Better for them, better for us.
Yeah, it's so layered, Gareth. But I think the way that Gen Zs have positioned mental health issues as a cool thing, in inverted commas, as a cool thing to have. Many of them don't even get diagnosed correctly. A lot of them are just jumping onto the bandwagon of, oh, everybody's got issues, me too. So if somebody actually does have these problems and is actually not okay, they don't even almost get the care that they should be getting. It's almost difficult to identify if this person actually has serious problems or if they're just saying it because it's fashion, for example. But in a country like America, where so much is always happening and the crazy on the scale of 1 to crazy, and crazy is always up there, I think definitely they should put a lot more attention into how to deal and solve these kinds of cases where clearly these people aren't okay.
No.
There's a lot of illness.
And there are obviously mental health issues which you can carry on with your life and you can continue to be a part of society and you can deal with them, whether it's through therapy or medication or both.
Sure.
But there are some problems that you need to be away.
Yeah.
Away.
Yeah. We got to lock them up. And those are the people roaming. Those are the ones roaming the streets. And that's the issue. Why are our children being killed? We drop off your child at school. I'll see you later.
Well, I mean, let's also point out that this is a very uniquely American cultural experience at the moment, at least in terms of the media coverage. I can't say for sure that that's the case. Maybe it's happening all over the world. I mean, we had that, that incident in the tavern here in South Africa not so long ago.
Yes.
Again.
Yes. Oh, but that turned out to be like gang violence.
Okay, but we don't know because our police are so incompetent at actually reporting the crime stats.
Sure.
That we don't know. Maybe we're as bad as America. We don't know for a fact.
Look, there's no lesser evil. They both just shitty situations.
Awful, yeah.
They both cuck. But as far as this is concerned, there's clearly an issue and a problem in America.
So what have they got? They've got these rooms that fold out.
So it's essentially a room that the teacher will just pull the wall back and then it's like a safe room, but it's just bulletproof. So they are trying to install. Imagine this is how bad it is. We have to put safe rooms in every single classroom just because somebody could rock up with a gun and try to take us all out. Hi, man. It really upsets me. Should we just homeschool all our kids?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are thinking that is the way to go.
Like, it's hectic. But look, I guess as far as like
So-
solutions are concerned, so the teacher just pulls, she pulls this, it's like two little levers, and then the room just sort of folds back into like a nice little corner, and then all the kids and the teacher will stay in there safe from getting shot at while they are actually supposed to just be in a schooling environment learning things.
I just want to go to some comments on that previous discussion we had about scrubbing yourself off the internet. So listen, Dumi says, it's messed up. I left socials in 2014, but there's still traces of my Facebook account.
Damn.
Zanele says, I paid a provider to scrub my entire Twitter history. It was the time when people were being malicious and sharing your history with employers.
Ooh.
Yo,
I actually envy you guys. I wish I could just get off social media, hey? I really, really do. That is nice. Just to like disappear, not exist.
Eminem says, oh my hat, I see some of my memories coming up on Facebook and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Nothing bad, but why on earth would I post that?
Yep.
Back in the old days, you had to talk face to face or on the landline if you had a problem. Now you just vomit your stuff at people on social media, says Waynes. Mm-hmm.
And it's oof.
Mm-hmm. G and Lebang, says Snipes, please bring an expert on to make us understand why the whole world has to succumb to 10% of the people. Kanye proved that the Jews hold the power in America, but who controls that much power with LGBT plus? Yeah, I don't know if Kanye proved anything except that he's got major problems. Again, mental health, right?
Right. Well, some would say mental health, others would say genius. Just depends on how you look at it.
Barefoot Blanche says mental health, especially anxiety, has become the new in thing, and that's why people that are actually suffering from mental health problems are left untreated or unnoticed.
Exactly. Literally what I just said. This is it's a thing. It's a thing. If you feel some type of way, you get into a fight with your parents. Oh, they don't understand me. I've got mental illness. If you have a fight with someone at school, oh, nobody understands me. I've got mental. And if really you do, and it is that, understood. But in some cases, it's just attention seeking. In some cases, it's just people that don't have anything going on. So they'll just want anything going on. It's unfair to the people that are actually mentally suffering. For everybody else to just kind of feel like having a mental illness every now and then when some shit goes off.
Slippery Pickle says regular enemas help to greatly reduce the symptoms of mental illness. Get your asshole clean.
Yo, wow.
Angus says it looks like all the climate doomsday prophets, like Al Gore and Greta Thunberg included, are scrubbing their old Twitter and Facebook posts because their ice age global warming CO2 coal and oil theories have crashed and burned. Yeah, that's turning out to be true, and I'm seeing more and more expert evidence and testimony being given by people that a lot of this alarmism is completely unfounded.
Where did they were just making stuff up and we were just like believing it because it was also that time we were kind of like, we believe anything we hear or see online. So, okay, they must be right. Not all of us did like credible search.
It in real time. Like it started off with global warming.
That
you
is
remember?
wild.
That was what Al Gore was talking about, global warming.
Yes.
Then they realized that wasn't actually happening. So then they changed it to climate change.
Yeah, it just got like a re-up. Like every 5 years they did like PR on the same matter and just like made it more current. But like, how are they getting away with this, just telling us whatever they feel like telling us? Yes,
it's very messed up. All right, so we've opened up a whole lot of cans of worms this morning. We got lots to talk about here. Lebang very passionate about the idea that your kids shouldn't be earning money as social media influencers under the age of 16. She's very much against it.
I'm gonna do a petition.
I want to talk to the CMO of Momentum, and we like to get these people in here because they can give us an idea of what's happening in the marketplace, what new trends they're paying attention to, all kinds of interesting and important stuff. And Momentum, of course, are a huge business, the 4th largest insurance group in South Africa.
Whoa.
And we're going to talk to Nontokozo Madonsela, who is the CMO there. Her career path has been defined by an uncompromising commitment to delivering smart, innovative, and memorable integrated marketing solutions across a wide variety of industries. She's been employed in various roles at some of the biggest companies in South Africa, including Standard Bank, British American Tobacco, Coca-Cola, South African Breweries, and Hollard.
Sure.
So, I mean, if there's anyone worth talking to, it's Nontokozo.
Yeah.
So what a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you
How are you? You should put on your microphone. How's it?
Good morning.
Nice
I
to
am
see you. Thanks for
good.
waking up extra early and coming in to
Yes,
see
a cup
us.
of coffee, very necessary right now.
Damn right. Yeah, so I mean that's a hell of a CV you got there. That's
Thank
a lot of
you.
places you've been at and
Thank you.
directed their marketing.
Thank you. And I must say, because if I don't say this, my other child won't be happy. I am the CMO for Momentum Metropolitan Holdings.
Right.
So I don't want the blue team to feel unloved.
Oh, okay. I got
because
you.
our group
So
looks after both of those insurance brands.
You have to be like Lebang has got 5 kids,
Yes.
so she has to
You
pay
must make sure they all
equal attention.
feel loved.
Right,
Everybody.
okay.
Yeah.
So what does that involve on a daily basis? I mean, you obviously have to decide how to spend budgets and things, but I mean, there's way more that goes on in terms of strategy and thinking. And insurance is the most competitive thing in advertising at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah. So having worked across different categories, I've come out now to know clearly that insurance is the toughest category. It's easy to sell beer. Of course.
Of course, in this country
it's easy
as well.
to sell.
You don't even have to advertise.
It's easy to sell a carbonated soft drink,
Mhm.
the fizzy stuff, easy. I mean, cigarettes,
Also
easy to
sells
sell.
itself.
Then I get to banking. I'm like, how do I convince people to switch banking accounts? Then I thought that was tough.
And it is.
But it's easier than insurance. So what is involved every day is solving problems. We are always thinking about how our strategies are working. We are thinking about how do we make sure our brands are loved? How do we make sure that our brands are bought? So there's a lot of campaign work we do. We've got a rhythm in the calendar of campaigns. Agencies are always facing us and we expect more, faster and cheaper.
Yeah.
Media buying, Gareth, we're always looking for deals.
Sure.
Because we don't have a lot of budget. So like what is involved every day is really partnering with my teams. We've got the most incredible team and there are many, many multiples of like intelligent people who are passionate about what they do, but we think things through together.
So from the customer or client or market point of view, I mean, the reason that I was really excited to speak to you this morning, among others, is it does seem to me like insurance companies are spending more than anyone else right now, trying to get that extra customer, trying to get someone to move from this one to that one.
Yeah.
And you guys have to spend the most on Google AdWords and things. I mean, insurance, the cost is
Like
sky
super
high,
high.
way higher than anything else.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe second is cars.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's insurance and cars.
Yeah, it's insurance.
Those are the two. You turn on the TV, that's what you see insurance ads.
Yeah.
Turn on radio, which I haven't done in 14 years, but supposedly you'll hear a lot of
insurance
stuff there.
Go on your phone, same thing.
Phone, all the digital stuff.
Yep.
So I mean, it's super competitive.
Crazy war out there.
And
it's a war for the client because there aren't new people coming into the category.
Is it like an arms race? Because if you don't spend, you get left behind.
Well, the thing about spending in marketing is always going to be a factor because I mean, why is Coca-Cola still advertising and Nike? At this point, do we think, relax, Nike?
You've done your part.
Years, so people know that you're there. So I think in marketing, the thing is you've got to be top of mind all the time.
Yeah.
And then the other part is that we are in a market that is shrinking. The economy is shrinking. With COVID, like people's sources of income disappeared.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when one is going to assess what they can afford, given the expenses that are essential in their lives, like petrol, school fees, clothing for the kids, you know, lights, electricity, how prices have changed. We tend to be the ones insurance that gets deprioritized.
Oh, definitely.
Well,
on the list.
People always say grudge purchase, right?
Yeah.
And
Like
nobody is in love with their insurance company. I mean, you guys try to make it look like that. Not you, but like all the insurance companies try to make it look like we have some kind of relationship with you. We don't really. People are like, if they don't have to have insurance, they won't.
Yes.
But we all realize we do have to.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. Like, I remember listening to a story by an actuary a long, long time ago, and this guy was an incredible storyteller. And what he actually made us realize as a team of marketing with our agencies was how your everyday life is enabled by insurance.
Okay.
Even when you don't know. Like, for example, when you get into a plane, that plane wouldn't take off without insurance.
Of
Sure,
course.
sure.
That
No.
when you go to
Mm.
a cafe at the airport and sit down for coffee, that cafe wouldn't be open without insurance.
Of
Sure.
course.
And then similarly, the car you drive, they won't let you get out the garage or take it from the floor
Yeah.
without insurance.
Yeah.
So I think it's a thing we need, but it's a thing that we hate to need.
Sorry, Lebang, it's also really a very complicated business. I mean, you guys
Yeah.
employ all these actuaries who are among the smartest people that come out of our universities. They have to number crunch about things that we would never think about, right? Like I certainly, my brain would explode if I have to do what some of these people did.
Yeah.
But Carl asks an interesting question here in the comments. He says, you talk about moving customers and, you know, winning those customers over, and we see all the advertising. Does that mean that we've reached market saturation and there are no new customers for insurance? Is that
Yeah.
possible?
Well, it is possible because we all get these batches of data. Actually, financial services, banks, and us, we look at what pool of clients are available. Then you've got to overlay the fact that you know there's a certain segment of the market that's moving overseas.
Yeah.
Look at the properties for
Mm.
sale in your
Yeah.
neighborhood. People are packing up, and so we're losing a bit of that. And actually, it's lost often in short-term insurance, but it's life cover you can keep or investments you can keep because that doesn't, require your ownership of the asset in the country necessarily, like a car, a house. So because now once you sell those things, obviously you are canceling all of your cover for those things as
Sure.
well,
Right.
those possessions. So there aren't that many people who are coming into the category because when you look at the middle market category, the bottom and also the lower market segment of the category, those are the guys that aren't necessarily getting increases the way we would want, and if there's in terms of their salaries.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
room for yet another expense becomes a challenge because
Yeah.
you got to now think, okay, I need medical aid, I need hospital cover. Do I need to insure my beautiful watch? Not necessarily, right? My
Yeah.
bicycle, not necessarily.
Prioritizing.
So then it becomes a
Exactly.
game of like what really matters.
It's a tug of war.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you could probably explain to me then why there's so many new, sorry, Lebang.
It's okay. Do your thing.
There's so many new insurance companies popping up all the time. I mean, the big dependable names like Momentum, for example, they're still there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people trust that. But you see a lot of these new ones popping up.
So it's a game of innovation.
Okay.
The newer guys are looking at like, how do we change the onboarding process? How do we eliminate paperwork in the process? How do we use new technology to onboard you? Like, for example, facial scans, et cetera, et cetera. And then like we're seeing new banks come up, and they don't have the 150-year-old technologies or books that have been, on the go for 80 years. So sometimes actually it becomes easier for the new guys to show up in a fancy, sexy way.
Sure.
But the trust that we have is what is the biggest equity that we hold on to, because at the end of the day, like you've seen what's happened overseas, banks come and go, like Silicon Valley Bank. How crazy was that?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
wild.
Right?
That was wild.
Yeah.
So,
I want to hear your question.
Like, the question I had 2 minutes ago is not the question I'm going to ask now, because that's how it is.
Yes.
So I want to find out about the new technologies that you guys are actually embracing, because
Yes.
on one end, of course, it would be difficult to sell insurance because it's not something that I can hold in my hand. It's not a tangible product, but I know how important
Oh,
it is.
please, when you buy stuff that you can hold in your hand, you
Hey,
buy
hey,
rubbish.
hey.
She got
What did
scammed.
you buy?
Look,
Let's not talk about what happened.
No,
I just,
show me.
sometimes in life you just want to buy stuff and then you end up
Yeah.
buying like what you ordered versus what you got.
Oh,
I bought some.
what is that?
It's
For
like
load shedding.
little lights. It could be for load shedding actually. It's like little lights, but they didn't look like this in the picture. Is
Oh
the
my
point? No
gosh.
insurance.
Those
But-
would be great in your garden. Or in
That's
your
what I
patio,
thought.
Actually.
That's what I thought if I was like this big. But
you should
anyway,
have taken out insurance.
Yeah,
is
I
the
should
point. But you wanted to
So-
ask something. Go ahead.
So, because there is a bigger market for just the tech savviness of things.
Yeah.
I don't really have time anymore to go and fill in forms and be in lines. I want to know that I can do everything on my device. So, what are the tech I guess avenues that you guys are exploring? Because I've noticed that on social media, you guys have increased your content, you've increased your visibility, and you are top of mind just because you're always out there. So are there any new tech things that you guys have applied?
Yes, there are. So for our short-term insurance clients, we've got the panic button, or the safety button rather, which is basically the quickest way to get help.
Okay.
Should you be in an accident or should you be in your home and you feel like there's noises, you need security, at a click of that button within like the few minutes, there'll be somebody there to help you.
Yeah.
And that eliminates I must remember to call the cops in my area. I must wait. And we tested it really in our office in Sandton, where we phoned, and there was security company was on board. They have a way to call an ambulance if an ambulance is needed, etc. And that's a product that we're so proud of in our short-term insurance space.
Yeah.
On the life side of the business, we're using wearable technology, which is fantastic, which eliminates your medical onboarding process. So by scanning your face, the technology can read lots of intelligent ways.
Yeah.
The AI can read your blood pressure level.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
Sure.
Can get a sense. You've got to capture some of the things like your height, your weight, etc. But what that does is it shortens what you would have needed your mobile nurse for.
Okay.
And then you are able to kind of, even get a quote at the end of that process of what your life cover would look like. So those are just a few innovations. And then also there's lots in our corporate insurance space in terms of retirement businesses and disability. There's a lot of, sometimes you innovate in the service and the client experience, not in the technology. So when one goes on retirement and they need support, we've got people who make that process easier and simpler, and the advice also. We are working a lot to get South Africans to really think long term about their retirement.
Sure.
A lot of young people now are thinking they can retire at 40. Let me tell you, I'm 45. I am far from being financially ready to retire. Far from it.
Yeah.
And even the way we think about the cost of living at the time, because some of us are driving fancy cars, we go to good holidays, we're living in beautiful neighborhoods, and we've got a lot of help at home.
We need it.
Your pool service guy and your garden service guy. So when you think about retirement, you really need somebody to advise you. And also we're seeing some people withdraw their pension funds, and so when you're switching between jobs, and I made that mistake when I was younger, and now I'm having to save twice as much to make up for when I moved. I withdrew and I wanted to go on holiday, and I bought my mom a couch, and I wanted to upgrade my car using that money. And then you start a business. I don't know, you want to sell cupcakes, you take your money from your pension, and then the cupcake business doesn't take off.
No, people are doing this, and it's very, very bad. The earlier you are, the younger you are when you start doing this stuff, the better. And you can't help it because you think, oh, well, I've been putting this money away, putting it away. And you think, well, I need it now. And then you do that, you make a withdrawal. So I want to ask you about what you guys are doing, because I've noticed there's quite a lot going on social media. So what's your strategy there in terms of kind of getting people talking and being part of those conversations?
So we've been on the journey to reposition our brands actually I've been in my role for nearly 6 years now. And we had to elevate our momentum to so that we're seen as progressive, as a brand that people can relate to.
Sure.
So we first made sure that we understood what success means to people, because that's the anchor narrative of the brand, enabling your success. One of the big trends is around inclusivity, diversity, and belonging, in as far as women, the queer community, people with disabilities, etc. So we are a massive supporter of women. Through our campaign, She Owns a Success, which comes around every August, and we try to keep the conversation going, because our insight was there is that, Gareth, you guys are so brave. You could be called to handle fixing a car you've never fixed, my brother, but you will walk away with the deal. You'll be like, I got you. You want to change your engine? Gareth Cleff's your guy.
I would be useless.
You've got friends like that.
I've probably been ripped off more than you can imagine.
Then you get out to the meeting. You're like, yo, dude, I need you. Come, let's fix the car. Meanwhile, I'd be like, I've never fixed a car. I'm not good for this. So we wanted women to have that confidence in the boardroom, tell their story confidently. Some of us struggle with compliments. So if somebody's like, yo, you are so good at what you're doing, we're like, no, Shem, it's the whole team. And then the guys are like, yo, yeah.
Thanks,
I've got
girl.
this thing.
Thanks,
yes. Like, in fact, my numbers are growing like this. Like the other. So She Owns the Success is really just to say to women, own who you are. Your CV never speaks for itself. That's a lie. When you're like, my CV, my accomplishments speak for themselves. No, they don't. Your voice is still needed.
Sure.
And then the other part is we're advocating for women in sport. We are partners with the G-Sport organization, which is the only awards a platform for women who are doing brilliantly in their sports. And we are also advocating to close the sponsorship gap for women, because we've had a long relationship with cricket, and we then moved on to supporting women in cricket. And when they got our sponsorship, it elevated their game so much. You can imagine as a club to have a big brand.
Absolutely.
On a
That makes a huge difference.
It makes a massive difference. And a lot of women, because of the lacking sponsorship, are having to do their sport as a side hustle.
Yeah,
sure.
And then you got to work by day, go practice in the evening so that you can put food on the table. We've got Sarah Kumalo, who is an incredible mountain climber, who has climbed, and broken records. And she too needed to
we've had
work
her on the show already.
Yeah. But through our sponsorship, she's able to focus and continue to kind of break records and raise the South African flag high. So those are the key things that Momentum cares about. And then on the metropolitan side, we really care about enabling the youth. The brand is about galvanizing the collective to solve together. Hence the PF line is Together We Can.
Sure.
And we brought it alive through enabling young people who are in specific industries like farming, like catering and hospitality, to work together, get coaches, get support, get advice financially, so that their hustles can become more stable and more young people can be employed. And so those are the two main thematic narratives, if you like, that our brands are putting out. We don't have a lot of budget, so we have to make digital media work.
Right.
But
that's also where people are.
That's where people are, especially the younger people. And I also think it's often it's a war in creativity.
Sure.
It's the best idea. I always say you don't need a lot of money to stand out. It would help. Yeah. But if your idea is brilliant,
enough, of course,
you will get noticed and people will engage with your content.
It almost sounds like you guys are looking at the more organic way to connect with people versus just kind of putting things out there that are maybe trending or whatever's cool to be talking about. And in all of your years of experience, how have you sort of taken that and applied it in this new strategy of being more visible and being online? I mean, I'm sure there's certain patterns that you've picked up about from the previous ways that you used to market that you are now applying in the social media way.
So I usually say to my team, we've got to know what we call the human truth. So why should my mother, who is out in Richards Bay, care about the story we're telling?
Sure.
And I think often when good ideas are ideas where you're like, oh my God, they nailed it. You know, when they like the way they're coming across in this campaign and that campaign is just beautiful.
You get it.
And they understand you.
And it feels like it's not a marketing message. It feels like it's actually just something you go, oh, that's great.
That's fantastic.
Makes me smile or makes me laugh or makes me think.
Exactly. And so we spend a lot of time just understanding those insights or those truths. What I say to people is the fact that it's on a digital platform or it's on TikTok or it's on Google or that is a secondary layer. The most important and how often
that's just the delivery mechanism.
And we watch these TV shows and I say to my team, call the thing what it is. And if you think about Married in 90 Days, Say Yes to the Dress, they're calling the thing what it is. And Cooking with Jeremy, hiking with Gareth. It is what it is. You are hiking with
Gareth show. Never gonna get that.
Hiking with Lebang, also not a thing.
Never gonna happen.
or sipping wine with Lebang,
Yeah,
you know.
that's
Could
better.
possibly happen.
That's better.
So the realer, the better is what I'm getting from you. No,
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. That's it. That's it.
Well, I'm very pleased you managed to make it here this morning and come and say hi, because there were lots of things, as you could tell, that both of us wanted to ask you. And I'm really pleased that we got to have you come and visit us at our new place. We only moved in here about
Thank
4.5, 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, we
Oh.
just arrived.
So,
Oh, what a
thank you. But
pleasure.
if there's one thing I want to ask people to think about, which
Sure.
we've learned through COVID, guys, get your wills sorted out.
Oh, big,
I'm
big,
finished that
big
one.
time, yeah.
Ugh.
And people don't think about it, and then when it
Yeah.
happens, it's too late, and then the people who depend on you are stuck.
Yeah. So get your wills sorted out. And I also want to say, if there's any opportunity for you guys to just understand that world,
Mhm.
estate planning,
Yeah.
in
Big.
human speak,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the tax implications. You know, when you inherit your mom's house, you have to register, pay tax.
Mhm.
And often most of us don't think about those costs.
No.
Sure.
And then they
sure.
come knocking on your door a couple of years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. So I would say that's a whole other thing that you guys
No,
should
well,
think
maybe
about,
maybe that's something
conversation.
that we should
can- yeah.
talk about together. But
Yeah.
thank you very
Yeah.
much for
Thank you
popping
for
by.
having me.
Non
Thank you,
Tokoza.
Tokoza.
Great pleasure to meet you.
Mm.
And that's it for us, guys. It's just after 8. We will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m.